I warmed up the bed.
Okay. Actually, you just get a different. I'll ask you.
Perfect.
Song today, so if you would turn to our screen here, and we are going to be singing We Laugh, We Cry. For those of you who like to use your hymnal, it is number 354, and we are singing verses 1 and 3. Welcome, everyone, to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Welcome to this day of memory and farewell. We have come here this afternoon to mark the passing and to celebrate the life of Judith K. Harris. Before her death on February 3rd, 2025, Judy graced this world for 81 years, sharing her compassion, her intellectual curiosity, and her passionate support for social justice and personal autonomy. Although she was taken from us before we were ready to part with her, she led a long and meaningful life filled with fun adventures, diverse interests and causes, and caring relationships of love and friendship with many, including her beloved sons, grandchildren, and significant others. And so as we gather here today, let us celebrate Judy's life together. Let it be gratitude more than sadness that brings us here, gratitude for the gift that Judy's life was full of moments of great joy, of beauty, of laughter, all wrapped up in love. And at this time, we invite three of the lights of Judy's life, her sons Scott and Rob and her partner Michael, forward to light the chalice, the symbol of Judy's Unitarian Universalist faith, as a memorial flame to honor Judy's life. As we gather today to honor the many gifts that Judy brought us and the world, may her memory burn bright in our hearts. To Judy and to all that she gave and all that she loved, we dedicate this service of memory and hope. And the family asked me to share a poem at this time. It is titled Afterglow, and it's by an anonymous author. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when life is done. And now the family has invited some loved ones to share a few brief personal tributes to Judy, and our first speaker today is Judy's brother, Randy.
Hi, Bun. I'm Randy Harris. I lived with Judy for 7+ decades, longer than anyone, I guess. I love my sister very much. And if I can get this, as her younger and little brother, and I'll explain that in a minute, I, Randy, had the honor of being in her life for 7+ decades. We grew up together, and like all brothers and sisters, we played together, we laughed together, and of course argued and fought together, as all siblings do. To explain the younger little brother, I spent some years as a computer specialist, and Judy asked me to fix her computer once about 30 years ago. And when I went in and fixed her computer, I changed her screensaver, so every time it would go off, it would say Judy Harris, my much older sister. And that has lasted forever. And whenever we closed our conversations on the phone or whatever, because of the distance, that's what we say to each other. That's what I say to her, and I won't mention what she says to me sometimes. For the first few decades, we lived together with our parents, and during this time we got to explore the world, or it seemed so. My dad was military, and he took us many places, one being to Greece, where we spent 3 years and saw all the sights, the Parthenon, the Acropolis, the Corinth Canal. And at that time, I was 8 or 9 years old, and all I saw was a pile of rocks. All these buildings fell down somehow. But Judy saw the history and beauty of the country. It's the way she was. She always found the positive in things. Judy and I lived with my mother and our Aunt Thelma while our father was deployed to North Africa during World War II. This created a strong bond between my aunt and my cousins, which has remained very strong till today with that family, that part of the family. But that was a long time ago. The world has changed a lot over those years. Judy, over the years, and I have completely opposites politically, religiously, and never got in the way of our deep love for one of each other. We could argue and get up, but we'd always make up. And we always had fun doing it. Judy had a great memory, and she could put details into things that happened years ago that I never could remember. Now, who was this, and whose child was that, and this and that, and she'd come right up with it. She knew it perfectly every time. And I'm going to miss that very much. I've already missed it very much. Judy was a great sister, a great wife and a mother, a great second mother, a great mother-in-law, a great grandmother, a great aunt, a great cousin, and an all-around great person to all she met. Judy, your strength lives on in those you loved. Your kindness continues to ripple through our lives. The world is better because you were in it. Your love story continues through all who knew you. Goodbye, Judy, my sweet sister. Almost true.
We'll just put that aside in case somebody needs it.
Our next speaker is Judy's ex-husband and the father of her children, Mark.
I'd like to share with you some thoughts and a few memories about Judy. As many of you know, Judy was a very warm, caring, active woman who often supported causes related to protecting the freedoms we enjoy under our Constitution. She was a wonderful mother to our sons and extended her nurturing skills to other young boys in our neighborhood as a Cub Scout den mother. What you may not know about Judy was that while she was attending the University of Kentucky, she was a runner-up in the Miss Lexington beauty pageant. You might also not be aware that Judy's maiden name was Harris, which occasionally was the cause of some confusion and amusement, especially at her high school reunions when she claimed, in fact, she was married. Judy was addicted to the Sunday Times crossword puzzle, which she zipped through in pen, while I cleverly avoided the challenge by immersing myself in the opinion, the book review, entertainment, and sports sections. As Randy mentioned, Judy lived in Greece during some of her early school years, as her father was in the military and stationed in Athens. One of my fondest memories was taking Judy back to Greece for our 25th anniversary, where we cruised the Greek islands and toured the Peloponnese. In Athens, after a couple of abortive attempts, we found a taxi driver who was able to find the home in which Judy lived as a child. And amazingly, the landlady remembered Judy and warmly welcomed us with some Greek wine. Judy sometimes had a little difficulty in judging the amount of time it would take her to get ready to go out. I see that resonates. So we would occasionally arrive late for an event. Our most embarrassing moment was when we attended a medical conference in London, and we were invited to attend a private dinner for the speakers at the Royal College of Surgeons. When we arrived at the entrance to the dining room and presented our invitation, the major domo pounded the floor with his staff and announced in his stentorian voice, "Mr. and Mrs. Harris." All the other diners who were already seated turned to see who these people were who had violated the English code of strict punctuality. After 29 years of marriage, and with both of our sons out of college and on their own, Judy and I sought new paths for ourselves. Fortunately, the separation was handled amicably, and we stayed in close contact and continued to see each other at family affairs and other events. I am grateful for the support the fellowship provided Judy after the divorce, and especially during her last year of illness. I am also grateful for the companionship Judy enjoyed, first with Jim and more recently with Michael. I am grateful that our wonderful sons and daughters-in-law spent a great deal of time with Judy, despite the distance between here and Washington, as they helped her deal with her illness and managed her affairs. And finally, I am grateful to have known and shared a major portion of my life with such an amazing woman.
And now let's join our voices in song together as a musical tribute to Judy. Judy's family chose the hymn, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People," in memory of Judy's activism. And today we especially remember her support for LGBTQ rights, which she was passionate about going back perhaps as long as her support for the separation of church and state and the individual right of conscience in religious matters. So please join in number 107 for those of you who prefer to use a hymnal, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People," or 170, sorry. common in UU congregations for them to rewrite the lyrics based on current justice issues and things like that. And we know that Judy cared a lot about a variety of justice issues, but maybe not 9 verses of justice issues. And now let's continue our personal tributes to Judy with Judy's son, Scott.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott, Judy's oldest son, and I must confess that I had a challenging time preparing my remarks for this occasion. A little bit ironic, perhaps, given that my professional life has been about finding the right words as a technical writer. But then, this is not a technical matter, but very, very personal indeed. After all, this is my mom that we are talking about. This is billed as a memorial service, not a funeral per se, because we are here primarily to celebrate and remember my mother and her life. I find that highly appropriate. As a secular humanist, Mom was not a believer in any kind of literal afterlife, and so if she is to live on in any sense, it will only be in our hearts and through our thoughts and memories of her. Therefore, I encourage all of those present, whether physically or virtually emotionally through the live stream, to share and recount as many stories and memories of Mom as you can, the better to keep her memory and spirit alive. You will hear a lot today, whether up here or in the reception, talking with each other, about how kind and compassionate, how good a listener, how dedicated to social justice Mom was, and all of this is certainly true. My dad has already mentioned her being a den mother for Cub Scouts, but it went far beyond that. I cannot count the number of friends, not just family members, who have remarked on how much they loved her and how she was even like a second mother to many of them. But I do not want you to get the sense that that was all there was to Mom, or that she was all about self-sacrifice or serving others to the exclusion of herself. She was her own person with many intellectual interests, strong opinions, a sometimes wicked sense of humor, and she could even get angry or a little bit mean when circumstances warranted. Here are just a few of my stories to illustrate these things. Dad has mentioned, and Randy has mentioned, how some of Mom's childhood was spent in Greece, and I knew about this from an early age. This was not just because she would often use the Greek kalinikta for good night to when putting me to bed and tell me stories about her time there, especially her pet goat Olympia, but also because I think this was the impetus behind her sharing a love of Greek mythology with me, getting me a copy of D'Aulaire's Book of Greek Myths at an early age, I believe when I was in the hospital with asthma. This was par for the course for both my parents, but especially Mom, reading to me at bedtime or letting me drag out bedtime, just talking about anything that came to mind. Later, I had the opportunity to take a trip to Greece myself in high school and see some of the sites she had told me about, and I was also glad to be reminded by Dad today about her being able to see her old house and reconnect briefly with her old landlady on their anniversary trip. Later, Mom encouraged my interest in science fiction and fantasy, which both she and her father, Tom, shared. I recall fondly the time we opened a big cardboard box full of paperbacks from the Science Fiction Book Club and started selecting which ones each of us would have dibs on. This kind of experience with Mom, not just with one genre, but with reading and books in general, was formative. One of the hardest things since she left us has been selecting only a few books from her own extensive library to keep as mementos. Mom had strong social and political opinions and often discussed them with us. I believe part of why she chose the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship as a community was as a way of instilling a sense of compassion and social justice in her kids, including the religious education program here, and bringing us to marches and protests from a pretty early age. I recall that when she had her cat, Lexi, she took some glee in getting her a catnip toy made to look like Newt Gingrich. I could bring up many other examples. There are so many other stories I could bring up, and I will do so later with anyone who wants to talk about Mom. But I'm probably running over my time, so I will conclude with one last anecdote. In her later years, we were accustomed to bringing Mom down to Northern Virginia to share the holidays with us whenever possible. This last Thanksgiving holiday, shortly before she got her diagnosis, we had her with us, and as part of that week-long holiday, we all went to see Wicked Part 1, that is. She enjoyed it, although both she and her granddaughter Willow had some notes on it for the writers, film critics that they are and were. So when the second part comes to theaters this coming November, I'm sure we will go to see it. But it will certainly be strange not to have Mom there with us to see the conclusion of the story. But then perhaps none of us ever really gets to see the conclusion of any story. In any case, I will try to take it as an opportunity to remember Mom and feel close to her again, to make the occasion another part of what really will be an ongoing memorial to my mother, whom I will miss forever, but whose life I will also always celebrate. Thank you.
And now Judy's younger son, Rob, will share his thoughts.
To me, on a daily and weekly basis, I miss my mother the most when something happens in the day and the instinctive thought pops into my mind, I should call Mom and tell her about that. Or when I think, who should I tell about this? And I go through my mental list of close contacts, and Mom sometimes comes up as I forget for a split second that she's not available anymore. Most of us just have a pretty short list of people we can talk to about anything. Just call them up with no real agenda or justification. But I think the sense with Judy Harris that she was somebody you could just talk to, who would appreciate you and value you as the person you are, without you having to prove or justify yourself, is not something isolated to me or my brother or close family members, but probably to many, many people who knew her, those who knew her well, and even some who knew her less well or hardly at all. Mom could and would talk to anyone. She would especially light up whenever seeing small children or pets, and an instinctive trait inherited wholesale by my brother Scott. She had a big heart and always saw meaning in life and value in people and care for people she knew well and people she knew less well and strangers. She demonstrated her love and care for others around her in interactions. Her generosity was not always in the task-oriented, clipboard-carrying, acts of service, checklist accomplishing sense, but in terms of inquiring after the state of her circle's hearts and minds, lending a sympathetic ear and sending warmth, love, empathy, and concern. It was just not Mom's style when hearing about struggles, pain, or suffering of others to ever say, "Who cares?" If anybody posed that as a literal question and not a rhetorical question, you'd be on pretty safe ground saying, well, Judy cares. Although my mom lived in New Jersey after getting married and to raise her family, she stayed connected with her parents and brother and extended family in Kentucky, where she was from, and brought us down every summer, making sure we knew our grandparents, uncle, cousins. Mom was a keeper of oral and literary culture from her family and generation and past generations, and a storyteller. Her whole life, she maintained many cherished long-term memories and described the past in terms of songs, sayings, and stories in ways that brought it to life for my brother and me. And she passed on family history going back centuries and made us feel part of a long-established great American family that had journeyed over the generations from the East Coast to the plains to the mountains and back to Kentucky. My mom grew up an Army brat. Her dad, Tom, was a sergeant. Most of her youth was in Kentucky, but as it works with the traveling Army life, she also lived in Florida, Pennsylvania, and even Greece, as has been mentioned. For religious upbringing, she said most of her childhood she was an Army Protestant, meaning that whatever denomination of the Army Protestant chaplain serving at the time, where the family happened to be. So she attended services and styles of different denominations. She mentioned that Episcopalian was her favorite because it was prettier with the candles and the smoke sometimes. I think the family was more settled in place by her high school years off base, and the family started attending Methodist services. My mom met my dad when working at the Army lab in Fort Knox and moved up to his home state of New Jersey after they were married, and they soon had a baby on the way, my brother Scott. It was as a wife and young mother looking for a new community that she found the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in the 1970s through a process of deep thought and research about the type of community, moral and ethical values she wanted to join with. Because you see, my mother's kindness and good nature that I've discussed and others have mentioned was deeper than superficial, and it reflected a mind and heart very much concerned with meaning, purposefulness, justice, right and wrong in society and in smaller scale interpersonal interactions and relations. Morally and intellectually, she was a seeker and craved to actively discuss and be involved in such questions. It was through seeking and research she found the fellowship. Judy's philosophical nature was reflected in how she raised my brother and me after we were getting out of the toddler stage, and the sometimes Socratic way she would talk to us about the right and wrong thing to do, and helped us anticipate consequences more than she threatened punishments or set taboos. Mom opposed exclusion and bullying, whether on the playground or in the larger society and economy. In life and politics, her inclination was always to side with the underdog and leave her community, country, and planet in a kinder, fairer, safer, more sustainable place than she found it. To be raised by my mom was to feel loved and protected. As a kid and teen, I could talk to her. She showed I could talk to her about anything. She was always someone on my side. She modeled care, kindness, and thoughtfulness, and through her life, valued the love, warmth, and support from her circles that enriched her life. First, her family growing up and into adulthood, including her one, much younger, brother Randy, who is here today. Her Alpha Delta Pi sisterhood in college at U of Kentucky, the family she made with Dad, Scott, and me, and her found community at Muff for the last 55 years, which was a focus of so much of her activity and so many friendships. After my parents' divorce, the Muff community was an even greater support for my mom and the meeting venue for her committed partnership with the late Jim Russell, and again for her committed relationship over the last decade with Michael Hacker, whose devotion and care for Judy brought her great joy, care, great life-prolonging help, and my brother and me peace of mind and assistance in managing her care from a distance. Thank you all for sharing this time with me to commemorate my mother and for sharing in her life.
Now we will have a tribute shared by Judy's partner, Michael.
Okay, certainly less polished, but here we go. I guess Judy and Michael was not the combination that most people would have predicted. And Muff had a lot to do with it. It was, at this point, probably the most important thing. Sorry. Oh, in both our lives, but I didn't take enough propanol. Sorry. Anyway, how does a beauty queen, sorority girl, army brat, and a few other things, Eastern Star, end up with mom's hippie boyfriend? Well, we just weren't that different. We looked different. I mean, I'd come from a background where I wasn't even aware that women still shaved and wore makeup. So it was a different world, and somehow I know we both lived through the 70s, but I don't know where. But the things that brought me to her were the same things that brought strangers to her. I think they've mentioned Judy could walk into a room, and it wasn't, she was into people and their history and stories. Only she would do this with strangers. And it was, I noticed this. I guess as a former therapist, I was very impressed. She had skills I really could have used. But, everything, our own relationship, I mean, you've heard about I keep learning things about Judy that I didn't know. That, make me proud of her and whatever. I guess, I don't know how to say this, but sometimes I feel cheated. I was phase 3 in this succession of men. Very different. And in fact, on Facebook, Judy had filled out her thing. And of course, when I first met her, I had to look that up. And she misread one of the things, and it said interests, and she just wrote down men. I think they were looking for sexual orientation or whatever, but it just said men. I asked her about it. She decided she'd just leave it. You've heard some things about Mark. I've seen, as a therapist and as a person, I've seen a lot of unhappy endings. She wasn't happy with everything. He wasn't happy with everything. But it ended there. Their children were everything. And I never heard a single bad word, or even nothing. It seemed very unnatural, but
That wasn't my business. People didn't pay me to listen to how great their former marriage was. So anyway, there I am, burned out hippie freak, child of the 60s, freshly out of a mental institution. Yeah, of course we were drawn together. What else could But the two... So anyway, I saw how she interacted with people, took a chance, asked her out. First date. She was late. In fact, she never showed. But she called me as I stood there in line with the tickets already bought to tell me that she was thinking maybe she wouldn't come. My thought was, you already haven't come. But Judy lived outside of time. I still can't you just live with it. You could give yourself ulcers. But we did get together eventually, and even the film, it was sci-fi, and there was a little bit of bonding there. But the things I learned shortly that brought us together was, one thing was religion. Some people would say lack thereof. I would say just the opposite. She had come here looking for stuff. I heard from her many times the story of her dialing up and making sure that she wanted a church. And is it all right if I'm an atheist? And of course, she got lucky. Here we are, and we know it's all right if she's an atheist. It was, I know that it's an uncomfortable subject, but it was vital to her. You know, where some people found comfort, she found a lot of division. Wasn't against religion, no. In fact, that's one of the beauties of this place is the variety. But for both of us, it became a very personal thing. I think both of us had read the Bible a couple of times. Very unusual for a Catholic. You may have heard. And some of the things were distressing. But in general, it was religious division that kind of, okay, that cans it, and then everybody's gods, including mythology, the fickleness. I hope to God that this is a human invention, because this was not the work, oftentimes, of a mind that mostly reflected human foibles, and it was easier just to go right to the source, and that's what humans do. You know, we don't know. It's our responsibility. And then you worry about it more than most people. Everything. You know, right, wrong, the consequences. It keeps you busy. But I know it's different, but it was essential. And we both found a church where we could be true to our religious selves. In fact, there's a big thing now with everybody being, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Judy and I were very religious. Here we are, major part of our lives. On the other hand, our humanism was, well, there's a famous humanism manifesto from back in the 30s and signed by, there were more Unitarian ministers signed on to that one than showed up at Selma, very disproportionately high. And that manifesto took the word spiritual and shredded it. You know, ghosts and spooks and things like that is what these words have all evolved to mean something different now, but you know, we're here, and we have obligations here, and much as other people may all be right, one of the problems is always, you can't all be right, so we chose to just take responsibility. And one of the reasons I chose one of the songs, first one, a lot of these songs, you may have noticed if you picked up got pieced back together. The last line, which we discussed often, was of the first song, was even to question is an answer. The other one that got a little strange was we laugh at no, we are a whole line on gay and straight together. Lost that line. another one that was particular to her causes, but her causes were very important. Now, what did Judy and I do for almost 10 years? Some people would say not much. And there's some truth to that. Judy had a lot of pain. As a psychologist, my first response when I heard a list of her was, oh God, these are the people they told us. Now you know why they sent you to you. Every obscure, hard to define, classic, often female illness you could think of, I went to her, with her, to the doctor. The kinds of horrible pain were, they were real. Right up to a death that wasn't so pretty either. But yeah, did she complain? Sure. But they got so numerous that she would pick one each day to concentrate on, and it would almost seem humorous unless you were there and you knew, yeah, all right, that infected toenail certainly isn't the worst thing that's happening to you, but it's the worst thing on your mind right now. And that's what you go after. So a lot of that, and then socially, I thought, oh, this is wonderful. Somebody who knows everybody. This is going to be my key into the fellowship, my very own personal nomenclature. You know, she's going to follow, and she did. She'd whisper all your names to me. But we became more and more reclusive. She became harder to get out. All these things about the travel, all the things that you might plan for a retirement. Well, fortunately, she had retired with Jim. You know, he was her project, or as she says, his floozy. But you know, he's always going to be younger, but Jim was considerably older. And I, being younger than all of you, we were the cougar and the boy toy. But what did we do? We told stories. The kind she had been generating and collecting all her life. Just like when she walked in and would meet a stranger pretty soon, you know, she'd have their family tree pretty well mapped out. She had a following at Costco, I swear, people who knew her. She knew all the greeters by their first names, and in the pharmacy, and she knew their children's names, and she knew all the good stuff. And I know more about all the people in the family that I ever needed to know, and I will not reveal it all today. And Judy was not a perfect person, but she was, someone asked her, I kept trying to find a word. We didn't leave, and she never had anybody there. That she was embarrassed about her home. So all these years, you know, I think I was one of the first people to ever be in her house. But there was a level of trust and sharing, and I figured out what she wanted. She wanted recognition. And she was really big on touch. This is a Midwestern guy who still won't let you hug me. I'm going. Oh, this is this Midwestern kid who still feels nervous touching people, but Judy was easy to touch, what can I say? And it was important. So we held hands and told stories for 7 years. And I know that, but her ability to charm people and things were just incredible, and she had a whole lot of stories, and these she would draw out of total strangers and everybody else. These people knew her life too, trust me. It took about 5 minutes. But in our case, it lasted 7 years.
And our final tribute today is by Judy's very close friend of many years, Ute Mack. Ute lives in Paris, France now, and unfortunately cannot travel. So she gave me these words to read for her. And the slides on the screen here show Ute and Judy. The red-haired woman is Ute, having a good time with each other in the 1990s. And their close gang of friends, including the late Georgia L. Fontaine and Muff's own Jerry Silk. And Ute writes, about 35 years ago, I found the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and at the same time discovered my friend Judy. It was a very special friendship, closer than I had shared with anyone except my husband. We helped each other during what were difficult times for both of us. For me, it was taking care of a sick spouse, and for Judy, it was going through her divorce while raising her wonderful kids. I will always have a very special place in my heart for you, dear Judy. Saying a final goodbye is hard. I wish I could be physically at the memorial service, but I am unable to be as I can no longer fly at distance. But I will always carry you with me, my friend. I remember Judy's smile, her gentleness, her kindness, humor, and good nature shine on. The people we love, our dear friends, stay with us always, in our hearts and memories. I can still hear Judy's laugh and see her smile. Her companionship and friendship over the years have been a constant source of comfort and joy. I feel lucky to have known her. Our friendship endured the distance, Judy. You will remain forever in my heart. Goodbye, my friend. Signed, Ute Mack. And now we have a video tribute honoring Judy. Please join me now in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and love, you who are known by many names, hold us as we gather today to celebrate Judy's life. Surround us in comfort as we experience the grief that comes with such a deep loss. Help us to find strength in one another. Let us feel the love surrounding us today, the love of family and friends who have come together to bid farewell to one of their own. Spirit of life and love, we give thanks today for the gift of Judy's life. Thank you for the countless number of days that she was able to touch throughout her time, countless number of lives that she was able to touch during her time here on this earth. Keep Judy close to our thoughts and to our hearts so that our spirits might be lifted by the memories of this wonderful woman who will always be loved and deeply missed. Comfort us with memories of Judy as a loving partner, mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, and friend. May our hearts be filled with gratitude for the life of this woman. Amen, and blessed be. Today we have said our goodbyes and shared our love for Judy Harris, a unique and brilliant spark of life. From stardust she was formed, and now we commit her light to the stars to which she has returned, recognizing with deep reverence a life well lived. And at this time I invite Michael, Scott, and Rob back up to extinguish our chalice as we prepare to end our service. And although we have extinguished this chalice flame, let us be confident that such goodness, such happiness and compassion and love as Judy's never touched the face of the earth without leaving something eternal. Her bright spirit radiates still through this world and through our own lives. And let us seek, therefore, to let our lives be her legacy, for her light is now ours to carry forward out into this world. May we celebrate Judy's life and the lives we now lead, for we are her honor and her memorial. All of her best qualities we now carry forward as we are now her voice, her hands, and her heart. And we close our celebration of Judy's life with these words by Mary Oliver. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this, to the fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. May peace be with Judy as her spirit flies free with her family, friends, and all of those who loved her. And may peace at last be with us all. And we will continue our celebration of Judy's life during our reception in the terrace room. Now I ask that you join me in singing one more time, Spirit of Life. It's number 123 if you're using your hymnal, and of course it's up here as well.
To
Thank you.